Last week was a strange old week in New Zealand politics. It ended with Hamish Walker's political career effectively over. He's standing down at the election. Michelle Boag's long association with the National Party severed, and the Nats responding to something underhand by asserting it was isolated, individual and not representative of a larger culture. And then a reporter at a Chris Hipkins stand-up asked him if it was dirty politics. Is it? By dirty politics, people mean this. Nicky Hager's 2014 book, which forensically exposes and details a certain type of attack politics and the way they were being carried out. 6 years on, to hear the phrase being used again raises a number of questions. Is what we learned last week the same as what we learned back in 2014? What's changed and what's not changed? We're really delighted to have joining us via Skype from Wellington, Nicky Hager, the author of this important book, to discuss where the similarities begin and end. Morning, Nicky. It's so nice to have you with us.
Morning, John.
Did you start thinking dirty politics as all of this unfolded in the past week or two?
Well, of course, sometimes in politics things just stuff up and go wrong, and you don't know what's going on. But yes, this had a distinct smell from the beginning, and the distinctive things are that you've got a party which is kind of in trouble. It's not doing very well in the polls. It's looking for a way to knock down its opponents rather than sort of win the argument. And then you see one after another tricky things start to happen. Yes, when we talk through it, I think it's become pretty clear that this was an organised campaign.
I wanted to find what dirty politics is, and I had the book, but Caleb, our wonderful cameraman, just took it away to get a shot of it. So there it is. But my memory of the passage I was going to quote is: the dirty politics is attack politics that is based on the damage it can do, rather than on the fair and robust exchange of assessment of competency or the merits or otherwise of a policy. Right?
Well said. Yes.
Okay, and so, when Todd Muller said, and this unfolded during the week, that this was one man exceeding his mandate and going rogue unilaterally, wasn't that a fair response?
Now, the point about this is, yes, it was. But the point about this is that we've got the Hamish Walker release, sending stuff off to the press, which was an act of sort of thoughtless craziness, which was going to end his career. But that's not the main thing that was going on, because the plan was not anything about sending off stuff to the press. There was quite a different thing going on. And they've kind of carefully avoided admitting the thing that was going on, and now focused on the thing which was just a big muck.
And so what is the thing that was going on as you see it?
The way we should see this is, I'll just go back a little bit and put it in context. Muller came into power in the middle of May, and National was very far down in the polls. It was way behind Labour, and it was heading for a huge election defeat. And what happened at that? And nothing. And when he became leader, they didn't go up in the polls either. And then a month later, this amazing thing happened from their point of view. Those two women drove down through the North Island, and maybe hugged someone on the way and kissed them, or maybe didn't. And suddenly, the polls shifted dramatically. And this obviously gave them an idea, because it was only in the week after that Michelle Boag started sending around data to different people, first to Michael Woodhouse, the health spokesperson, and then to this young guy in Invercargill. But what the important thing to notice here is, that really starts to make sense of this, is that that wasn't that everyone just kind of went mad and started sending each other emails that they didn't really need, and that they didn't know what to do with, and they just quietly deleted later because there was no purpose of it. This has all just been flim-flam. This has been diversion when they've been answering us. What was actually going on was that they were looking for political ammunition. That the reason why they wanted people's personal COVID patient information is because maybe there were more of those women driving down the island. Maybe there was more stuff like that. And that had been the one thing which had dented the Labour Party's polls, their unbeatable polls. And so straight away, they were into the same thing. I don't know any more than the rest of the people who are watching this, but with my experience of the people concerned, I put money on it that was what was going on.
Okay, and in a way we had an insight into that from Michelle Boag. who started all of this, because it was her who received this material and it was her who made the decision to send it out with her 4 decades of association with the Nats. And she said in her resignation notice that politics has distorted her. I think that was the word she used, that it has made her tribal to the point of enmity, to the point of actually losing her judgment. Is that what you're saying, that this was tribal point scoring rather than legitimate, robust politics?
This was undoubted. I mean, you just don't use people's secret patient information as a kind of political ammunition, political, stuff to search through to look for dirt on your opponents. You don't do that. But actually, what was going on with Michelle Bogue was, yes, she was admitting that she'd gone too far, but the thing that went wrong was not that they were doing it. They could still be doing it. The thing that went wrong was just that one of the people she sent the information to had a rush of blood to the head and did something very unexpected and erratic, which was sending it to the press.
Sorry to interrupt, Nicky, but are you saying they were ham-fisted? Are you saying they were better at dirty politics in 2014? Because certainly they managed to establish a greater arm-length distance from the dirty politics you describe in your book.
So the dirty politics in the book has got 2 things. It's got relentless digging of little bits of dirt and little bits of criticism and little bits of things that they can beat up to make their opponents look like they're dishonest and wrong. But you also have to hide what you're doing. Because if it had been John Key doing it, rather than the man down the hall from his office, sending it off to Kramer and Slade to stick on his website, everyone would have thought, what a revolting prime minister. We call ministers and politicians, we don't want to vote for them. So you have to be able to do it so quietly. And that was the thing that Michelle Bogue was clearly unhappy about, was that they got caught. OK, let's talk about... Todd Miller is telling us he's drawing a line in the sand, that this behaviour is not acceptable and it will not happen again. So 2 questions to end on. Question number 1, how does he do that? And question number 2, how do we know when he's done that? My view is that it is 100% impossible that Todd Muller didn't know that the strategy was to try to find a series of stories which wore down or kind of disappointed people's feelings about the COVID response. Because, Labour was up in the polls so high because they'd done well on COVID. They wanted to drag that down again. So he knew that. Ask me the second question.
The second question is, how does dirty politics stop? And Nicky, politics is necessarily robust. Oppositions need to hold governments to account. They need to scrutinise their actions and their competence. But how do we satisfactorily draw a line in the sand between the robust scrutiny of governments and dirty politics? How does that happen?
There's a difference. People should point out serious things that governments do wrong. When people act dishonestly and wrongly, what you shouldn't do is to turn politics into a kind of organised, strategised game of phony little fake crises and scandals, which aren't real scandals. They're just kind of a tactic to try to make their opponents look bad. So everyone's trying to make each other look bad. And in the end, nobody likes politics. No one trusts politics. No one trusts politicians. People turn off from politics, and it poisons the whole pond. So your main question here is, how will we know it stops? How will we know that Todd Miller isn't backing opposition for opposition's sake? They'll stop doing it. There won't be attack ads all through the election, which is what we have to, unfortunately, quite likely expect from National. There won't be a constant series of minor criticisms being found. Instead, they would be standing up and saying, we as a government, this is what as a party, this is what we believe in. We think we could have handled COVID better. This is how we would have done it. In other words, it would not be based on negative, attack.
Alert from Ducks. Google password required.
Pardon my...
Don't put your password in now, Nicky, because everyone will know it. Boy, you'd want to keep that to yourself, Nicky. Thanks, Nicky. We really appreciate you joining us this morning. Nicky Hager, who wrote the book on dirty politics, literally and figuratively, in 2014. We're so grateful for your time. Nicky saying some stuff there about Todd Muller, which we will put to him when he joins us on the show, as he does every Wednesday morning. Lots to discuss. Josie Pagani joining us after 7 too. Thanks, Nicky.